Welcome to our Product and Cake podcast about product and tech at mobile.de. Here with me is my co-host Gonce Tavosi. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me today. Very happy to be here.
Basically, you are the co-host. You have to be here now every time.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah. Will we have cake every time or not?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, then I'm in.
Yeah, that's the name of the podcast.
Good. Because the cake today is really yummy. It has a layer of orange in the middle.
Yeah, and something crispy on the bottom. It's
quite nice.
Delicious. Yeah. And vegan, you said.
Yeah, it's vegan. Yeah.
So then the thing is we can only record new episodes if someone is celebrating something. Because that's the way how we get to cake. True.
Or we can bring our cake. We still need to have a bake-off between me and Christina.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because in the very beginning of Leasing Alliance, we both said that baking is our passion. And then there was a suggestion of a bake-off.
I remember that, but during home office time, I never get cake. So
yeah, sorry.
So it's maybe a good thing if we start this podcast and then we have a justification.
To have cake, yeah. But today, the main reason that we're in the office and can have cake and can record this is because of OBS.
Yes, we have a big product launch today.
Quite exciting, huh?
It is a big thing because mobile.de turns into an online shop now, an online shop for cars.
Okay. Were you able to find it on the product?
Oh, no, but because you need to be in the 5% of the A/B test to see it actually, but we could now live refresh the page until we are invited.
Okay. I do not want to use my connections like this, but I might have some connections to some people who might have an actual link.
Nice. Until you got that, I will just refreshing the page and hoping for the best.
Alrighty.
That's already two interesting topics in a big corporate. One is connections, right? How do you form them? And the other one is A/B test. How valid is it that maybe not even your colleagues who are invited to celebrate a big product launch are not able to see the product on the website or to refer that to friends?
Well, if we refer it to friends, would it be considered an A/B test at that point? Because we are playing with numbers.
Right. But humans are also full of feelings, right? I mean, if I'm celebrating something, I also want to show it. And I guess 5% of our user base are more than the number of my friends. Even though I have a lot of friends, of course.
Yeah, that is true. To be fair, I wanted to have a mock product or a product that if we use that specific link, we are not going to be tracked.
Yeah.
But still would be able to view it. But in general, the topic of A/B tests and how valid they are, I as a product manager don't 100% trust A/B tests. And I think there is still a lot of issues with the way that we set up A/B tests and the way that we rely on the A/B test to have the answer for everything. I don't know if you have seen this Jelly Bean comic. Let me find it.
Okay. I remember I may also have a contact who can help with a direct link.
Yeah, so there is this comic style or the comic website that is called XKCD. I'm sure everyone knows it.
Of course.
And they had a very funny comic about A/B tests and how valid they are. So it starts with they have a jelly bean and they say, "Oh, we need to test if jelly beans are causing acne or not." And they check with 95% of confidence. They realize that no, this is not the case. And then they say, "Okay, maybe the color has an impact." And they start to test red, green, every single color. And because there is a 95% confidence, this means that out of 20 tests, there will be at least one that will have a wrong answer at the end. If we have statistically, if you have everything in a neutral position, after 20 tests, one will give us a wrong positive or wrong negative. So at the end, they find out that, or based on the statistically significant results of the A/B test with 95% of confidence, they realized that purple jelly beans causes acne, and then this becomes a news article. So I suck at really describing this XK City comic, but I'm sure it's very funny. Yeah, and
in general, looking for data, measuring the data is one thing. We already talked about the thing that you could easily measure wrong things if you recommend for friends, for example, or all the hundreds of colleagues are testing at the same time and you track all of that. And the other thing is interpreting the data, what you referred to. Basically, you could justify every opinion based on data, more or less.
Oh, I have a very interesting, funny / sad story about interpreting data. And so one of the biases that we have in data, or one of the pitfalls of data, is that we first create a hypothesis in our brain, and then we look at the numbers. And then based on that, we try to form and force those numbers into what hypothesis we have already created. So many years ago, when I was working at this company called Shapecore, we always saw a very suspiciously low number of users on Fridays, which is the national holiday in Iran. And then we were wondering, it's the OBS celebration.
It will start in 10 minutes.
Yeah. We have 10 more minutes, so
nice.
Use double the speed.
Yeah. Let's have some more sad stories.
Yeah, it's actually quite a nice ending. We saw a very oddly low number of users on Fridays, and everyone accepted that as a fact, that on Fridays we have lower users. And then people had the hypothesis that, on Fridays, because it's a family day, people do not check online products, people spend it with families, and they don't need classifieds on weekends. That's why the number is so low on Fridays. And this just didn't really feel right to me. The main reason it didn't feel right to me was because I really, really enjoyed classifieds. And I remember I used my Fridays to look for stuff and go to garage sales, go to other people's houses, just look through their stuff that they wanted to have for sale. And it was really fun for me to do on Fridays. So for me personally, the most used time of the product was on Fridays. So I was like, no, this cannot be users use it. People were like, no, people, but the issue was that all of my colleagues were not actually users of classified. So they had this hypothesis that Fridays are family days, people are not online. That's why the numbers are low. And the numbers also verified this. And what we did at the end was we stayed, the whole product and tech team, we stayed in the office the whole weekend. We had a sleepover in the office. It was really fun. We had pizza and it was very nice. And we created some kind of hackathon. And then what we realized was that on Fridays, we get a very high number of users and servers do crash. Mm-hmm. And that's why we see a very low number of users.
Oh, okay.
It is because we have a lot of users. So that's something that we fixed. And then the numbers were looking completely the opposite way.
Wow.
So, that's one of the pitfalls, to first defining the hypothesis and then looking into something, which is something that potentially is happening right now in leasing and in financing, when we see a very, very high number of sessions on our iOS. So, as you know, on iOS for leasing, we see a very high number of sessions. 6 times our Android. And then these sessions do not have the same conversion rate as Android. Mm-hmm. So we do not have 6 times higher the leads on iOS than on Android. The financing squad has the exact same issue. They see a oddly high number of sessions on iOS, but they have accepted it as a fact, and they did not really dig through it. And I think what I really appreciate about what we're doing right now at Leasing is that we want to dig deeper into it, and we want to find out what is the reason, even though we have a very, very close and similar product next to us that have just accepted it as a fact, and we could have done exactly the same.
Interesting. So to put it into a little bit easier to understand numbers, for example, we have 100 users on Android, so and 10 of them doing a leasing contract or signing a financing contract. And on iOS, we see 600 users, but only 2 or 3 doing a contract, just to have easier numbers to understand and talk with. So we could take that numbers, or what you suggested, dig into it to understand how exactly they are tracked. And what is the role of a product manager? Because by nature, a product manager is not an engineer, right? What levers do you have to dig into that?
So I think in situations like this, you divide it in 2 different scenarios. Either it is a technical error or a user error. So if it's a technical error, we look into how we are tracking it. What are the differences between platforms? How the tracking is sent to us, and how are we monitoring it? When we think of user errors, we need to get a little bit into user conversations, usability testing, and so on, to understand how users are actually using the product, and also for ourselves to start using the product heavily, to understand maybe there is an issue that automatically when you open the app that you are already on Leasing. So we don't know those things that are happening at the moment.
Yeah, that's true. So what you are saying is we could run plausibility tests to check if we find an explanation or more a high level explanation for the numbers, and then check if that is also tracked, and if not, we finally need to use our own product. So
finally, that's the last resort.
In the end, you need to open it.
If everything is not working, we have to use our own product. No, I think that should be the first thing. We should be on top of it constantly. But we are also, all of us, very limited in the capacity of what we have. Because, for example, I have only one phone, and I always have the latest version. What you hear is the sound of my phone. I want to check the app. I always have the latest version. And this specific issue might occur only on a specific version. So it is very important for the data analysts to dig deeper. I was actually today talking to one of our colleagues about KPI trees. And it is extremely important for the data analyst to have a very good visualization or a vision of how the KPI tree for a specific metric looks, and to start dividing it by that. So based on the versions of the app, based on the times of this issue, based on the device, and other things, you need to dig into the data and see where we see a huge gap.
I also talked to a colleague requested me today and asked if we changed recently something, because he's from the business analyst team and he saw a drop in the numbers. So,
which numbers?
The session to lead rate on Leasing on our core product dropped within the last days.
Interesting.
And now I wonder, I mean, what you explained is totally true, but it's so complicated, and it's nearly impossible for one person to keep an overview about all of that, because, as mentioned, there are hundreds of people working on the product and changing things here and there, and then to find out what triggers the change finally. Is it a bug or a misinterpretation, or it's just the product changed that maybe leasing is not on the homepage anymore. Instead, our new exciting feature is there. So we see a drop and multiple people start to find out what's happening. And I would really wish for a simple and easy to understand solution where we have the same understanding of the numbers and where they are coming from.
Yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen ever, to be honest.
But how can we be data driven if the numbers are not reliable in the end?
We do have a change log for the product features for leasing. So we know when what thing went live, so we can connect it to anything.
So you need to interpret if a change maybe affects tracking.
Yeah. But it is not very likely. To be honest, the topic of tracking, I would consider it, the quality of the tracking is part of the quality of the product.
Mm-hmm.
So we think when we are going live with a specific feature, it is important that the analytics team also knows about that, has a detailed view on how it's going to be tracked, and makes sure that the tracking is implemented correctly.
Yeah. And they need to have the headspace to really dig into and not just check for the obvious things, but also check for edge cases and check on different devices. I saw device farms in other companies where you have a room full of devices of all kinds, and in every one is the app installed, and then you need to check it, to understand it, to know how to use it, where to find the developer tools and so on. It's a very time-consuming task.
Yeah, that is true.
But all in all, the data is kind of the blood that is running through the product, right? And it gives us a sense of feeling if it's hot at the moment or cold, is it flooding or dripping out? So it's super important to raise the awareness of data and also to develop the same understanding of what that means. And I think also the awareness of the importance of the data needs to be explained to everyone who's basically working on the product, and maybe that can help to achieve higher data quality in the end.
Very nicely said. I wanted to say that we are operating on an open heart of the product, and if we do not monitor the heart rate, the patient, which is our product, will die.
Yeah, or we find out that it's basically our own heart rate and not the heart rate of the patient we were tracking. Difficult, maybe. Yeah, so that's just the tip of the iceberg. And raising awareness and aligning teams and understand what's going on in product and how to write product logs that are used by someone. All of that are very interesting topics for one of the next episodes, because we need to head over to the launch party now. That's the most important thing, right?
Yeah, so. I'm already done with my cake, so I think the episode is over.
Same for me. Super nice talking to you. See you next time.
Same. See you next time.
Bye.
It's like on the...
we have no ending.
On TV, they have these papers that they just change and they chat and they fake drink coffee or something.
This is the right ending.
That's a great ending.
No, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.